So anxiety has been a huge part of my life. I grew up in a very anxious home, and parents. You don't pick up what your parents teach you. You pick up who they are, and which should be terrifying, I suppose, in some ways. And I got my favorite parts, obviously, from my parents. But one thing that I inherited from them is how to worry. And it's what's interesting about anxiety. The church sometimes rails against like sexual sin and pornography and all these kinds of things. Jesus talked more about anxiety than anything else in terms of things to be scared of. And like the scriptures talk a lot about, do not be anxious about anything, but in everything submit your requests to God. And so I think anxiety might be, I'm hesitant to use this word, but might be one of the greatest sins of a leader. It's certainly one of my favorites. And whenever people ask me how do I manage anxiety, my answer usually is poorly. And even like with speaking, I used to throw up before speaking. I used to have panic attacks before speaking, and even now in this season of my life, like anxiety is there, and so I don't have a secret for getting rid of it. I only have techniques for managing it. So every morning and when I wake up and before I go to bed, I have rituals in my life, like spiritual practices. I put on music that to me is energizing. I do some mild exercise to disrupt whatever emotional state I wake up in because I have nightmares a lot. I pray and reflect. And I'm from LA, so we call them affirmations. But it's not like Stuart Smalley, like you're good enough, you're smart enough, and God, doggone it, people like you. But like I remind myself that this is the day that the Lord has made, and I will rejoice and be glad in it. I remind myself that I can do all things through Him. I remind myself that it's a gift to be alive, and then that today is going to be I wrote this morning. I woke up at 3:00 my time before coming here to the studio, and I wrote, "This is an adventure. I don't know how this is going to go," and that kind of release really helps me ground myself, and to have it doesn't take away the anxiety, but it takes the anxiety from being in the driver's seat to being in the back seat, where it can do a little bit less damage. And those are some of the things that I use to manage that.